So today I'm going to be showing you kind of my editing workflow. So I'm going to roll a clip and then we'll jump into Premiere Pro and get started. Boosh. Okay, so first thing you want to do is get a nice pair of headphones in. It's always good to be able to hear kind of what you're working on. So let's get into this. Right. So what I tend to do, first of all, is just drag a basic clip and drop it in. This here will create a sequence that isn't like the first shot I want to use, but it'll just create a sequence at the exact settings for what I'm using. So in this case here, it's a 1080p sequence because I'm shooting 120 frames per second and then slowing it down to 24 frames per second. So let's grab our first clip. So let's see, I think this one looks good. Okay, so let's just go to kind of an in point. Let's go with that there. Press I to mark an in point. Through. And O to mark an out point. Drag that down. And we're also going to go and grab our tune and just drag that in underneath. So that kind of gives us a little basis of what we're working on here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little bit of speed ramping. I tend to do this stuff as I'm working through because otherwise kind of your clip doesn't work. So basically you want to right click, go down to the bottom of the kind of selection panel thing. There's show clip keyframes and you're going to go to time remapping and speed. This here will allow you to do basically a speed ramp. So we're going to go here, find a nice position, I reckon here, and you're going to hit P to mark a point, and there, and then V. We're going to drag this here up to 400%, which is real time. Okay, and we're going to drag these other two little sliders here to give it a little bit more of a smooth ramp, and there we go, smoothing it off. And maybe 400% is looking really fast. And kind of here, we want to slow it back down again. Here. Hit P again, and back to V, and drop the speed down to 100%. Nice little smooth ramp there. Okay. We're again going to ramp this one here a little bit bigger. There we go. And cut it a little bit sooner. Kind of here. Side click, unlink, and ditch that sound. There's no sound recorded when you're shooting at 124 frames per second with the GH5 at least. And we're going to go find our next clip, which is this one here. Okay. This looks kind of good. And out. Drag this in. Here we actually want to go bam. To shot here. Okay, so this clip here is upside down. because we're filming kind of a low shot on the glide cam. So find a nice in point and out point kind of there. Drag a little bit less, we want kind of there-ish, I reckon. Yeah, drag that over. Drag this into sequence, and you're going to go to the effects control panel, select your clip to rotation and 180. That'll get it up the right way. Okay, let's see what this looks like now. You know what? And I'm going to cut this here. Okay, moving on. Let's see what we want next. No. This is kind of the issue when you haven't filmed it yourself. You just need to kind of go through and try to find the clips you're after. Scrub through until we missed that. There we go. Look in. Out. Drag this in. Okay. I do quite a lot of kind of rewatching of the clip just to see how it's kind of flowing. I reckon we want a little bit more off the end there. Draw these up. See what that looks like. I reckon we want to kind of end it there. So I'm just kind of adjusting a few little things in here. Okay. There we go. So now what we want to do, before we spin on too far down the edit, we're actually going to drag in our widescreen bars. So normally you don't want to necessarily use widescreen bars, you want to actually kind of export your clip at that size. But because I normally add in shots which don't have widescreen bars in them, which I will be doing actually to this clip in a bit, we want to basically make sure that those are a separate thing so we can kind of adjust them, so we can have them drop in, move out. Okay, here we go. That looks much better already. So right here, if you look here, my face is kind of way too up out of the top. So again, we need to go to our effects control panel, and at the beginning, yeah, we're going to drop my head down a little bit. So we're going to go to position and make sure you've got the clip selected, and height, we're going to just drop it down. How does that look? And a little bit lower. Kind of there, that looks better. It's looking much better now. It's kind of here. I want to cut the shot. So basically I'm kind of scrubbing through, trying to find some good kind of cutting positions with the music as I'm going. So you It's always useful kind of to listen ahead slightly and just kind of see what you need next. Okay, let's go have a look at some of these clips here. I think we want some kind of B-roll of the location we're in. Let's go with something like this one. See what this looks like. I'm liking that. Back in and out. Just drag this in, see what that looks like. Okay, we want to go here and cut there. Go into another shot. In fact, we might use one of these here. So basically these bits at the bottom here are basically where I'm whipping the camera around really, really fast. Just to get a slight blur. Look in, and before we get any kind of visible detail, not out. So it's just a few frames, barely anything. So it goes like this. And then we want to bring in a clip. This one here. So find a good position. Something like here. There we go. Mark in and out. Drag this clip in. And dragging those widescreen bars along. It's not quite the best. Maybe let's go for a slightly wider looking shot here. This one like. Nah. That might do. Shot needs to be a little bit more stable, so we're going to go to the effects panel on this side here, and we're going to look for warp stabilizer. Warp stabilizer, and drag it straight onto the clip. And basically what that's going to do is going to make sure that is nice and stable. Okay, now we can go kind of into our next shot, which should be cool. We've got Amy in the background there. Let's see, Amy in the background here too. In. Oh. Cut it there and go to something kind of more where I'm potentially walking about a bit more. In, and that looks great. Drag that down. I don't want it to be too long. It kind of there. Let's go to one of these downward shots here. Like this one. There we want to go to here. Move the camera up. Okay. Clunk. Let's just take a look at this from the beginning. So that's kind of looking cool. I reckon we need kind of another shot in here. See what we've got. So I reckon kind of here. So I reckon this is actually quite a nice kind of place to end this shot. Hit C and cut the tune there, B, and get rid of it. So this is just kind of basically how I'd go about starting the edit to like one of my videos or something like that. So let's just through. This shot here needs some warp stabilization added to it as well. We're going to kind of do here. Yeah, that's about right. So that's a nice, 36-second sequence. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go into how I would color grade this sort of thing. So the first thing I tend to do is, I know it's kind of working around it backwards, but create an adjustment layer and drag this over the top, and there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the color adjustments, the Lumetri panel, and we're going to import a LUT. Browse. And the LUT I use is internal 101, interior 10. So the LUT I'm using is just a LUT, which I've kind of created. It works really well for the Panasonic GH5, which is the camera I'm using. Okay. That, I mean, straight away, look at that difference. Makes a massive difference. So this shot here is looking a little bit on the blue side. So we're going to come over into our... this is the wrong one. Basic controls, and grab tint, and we're going to push it slightly more to the yellow, make it slightly warmer. A little bit more green in there as well, just ever so slightly. Let's just Command Z, because we've got the make sure you've got the correct clip selected. Just pushing this down slightly more towards the orange, just a tiny bit, and a little bit of green in there. Okay. The shot here, a little bit underexposed, and we need to do a slight other adjustment with the about there. And it's on here. So these two shots here are slightly underexposed. So we're going to grab our curves layer, and we're just going to drag it somewhere in the middle, up just a little bit higher, adding a little bit more detail into it. And the same with this one. There you go. Also, our skin tone is looking a little bit unnatural there. So here, grab the red, and just kind of desaturize it just a little bit. Yeah, that is only just affecting my face, that's good. So less orange. Take the saturation down just a bit. There we go. It's a little bit sickly. That looks a bit better. The shot looks great. Warp stabilization has worked really well as well. This one looks nice. This one here looks cool as. And that's that sequence pretty much done. This one here's slightly overexposed. Curves, drag the contrast down just a touch. Not the contrast, the exposure. How's that looking? It's looking much better. Hit enter just to render it. It shouldn't take too long. And then basically that way you can view the video clip and it's ready to export. Okay, so that was basically a look at how I would tend to go about editing a cinematic sequence. Here we didn't have quite enough footage to get the best sequence out of it, but it gives you an idea of how I tend to do it. We obviously didn't spend quite so much time on the color grade and that sort of stuff. We were kind of doing a rush through, get through the entire sequence fairly quickly. But still, I hope it was kind of useful to you. It's always useful to see how other people edit their videos, just so you can get an idea, a few tricks, a few tips. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Let's finish with this clip once again.